Kirsten, shareholders are annoyed, and they made it very clear at today's virtual AGM. So, it's understandable given the allegations of money laundering and links to criminal gangs that have been aired in recent weeks. So, shareholders voted and delivered a first strike against the board's remuneration report. So, basically, there was a big 34% protest vote against the resolution on how much executives should be paid. And if there is a second protest vote at next year's AGM, then we can still start talking about a board spill. Back to today's meeting, a lot of shareholders voted against the re-election of directors as well. But all these directors managed to keep their jobs because of a major shareholder, James Packer, who owns 36% of Crown. So without his vote, all those directors would have been kicked out. So one director did say he would retire, acknowledging that he would not have survived had it not been for Mr. Packer's supportive votes. Now, there's lots to be annoyed about for shareholders. Earlier this week, AUSTRAC, the financial crimes regulator, announced it was investigating Crown for potential money laundering breaches. And it's a much feared regulator. A few months ago, AUSTRAC managed to secure a record $1.3 billion fine against Westpac Bank for money laundering breaches. So there hasn't been much info on how many breaches are being levelled against Crown. So there's a lot of uncertainty that's impacting its share price this week. Now, the tone of directors is very apologetic. Chairman Helen Coonan, who was the next Howard government minister, she unreservedly apologised for all the bad news that have been surrounding Crown recently. But she said these allegations of money laundering and the links to criminal gangs, they're not shocking revelations, but more historical shortcomings. And she used that term a lot. So in a sense, it did seem like she was downplaying it a bit.
What's been the market's response to the AGM?
You'd be surprised, Kirsten. Initially, it was a bit negative. It fell during the AGM, but it's recovered quite a bit. So when we take a look at the figures now, Crown shares are now up 2.3%. And it certainly helped that it gave a trading update today saying that its Perth casino is doing very well in the first 4 months of this financial year. AMP and Zipco are the shares that have fallen sharply, as well as Resolute Mining. But healthcare stocks are doing quite well. Helios announced a strong quarterly revenue boosted by more COVID testing. Now, ResApp, that stands out. Its share price has skyrocketed by 19% after revealing that its app to measure the coughing of patients is being used by AstraZeneca, which is a company racing to create the world's first COVID vaccine, which works. Now, the broader market is a bit more negative. The All Ords and ASX 200 down about 0.4%. So that's a small fall and a big improvement considering the market had dropped by a much steeper 1.5% when the trading day began. Most sectors are in the red, with real estate and utilities at the bottom. Now, the Australian dollar is a bit weaker. It's fallen below 71 US cents. And Kirsten, that's the latest in finance news.
Thanks, David. Protesters have clashed with